Hello everyone. So let me come to here. Good morning. Thanks for coming. Like it's not early, but it's still early after a party or after a hard day yesterday. So welcome all and thanks for coming. So my topic is like actually all about the hybrid casual, and it's not gonna be something like what is this hybrid casual or is this something new or here is the new genre you should do this. But I will just talk about how we approach to the hybrid casual genre, if it is a genre or what do we consider it as a genre or other stuff like and also I'm gonna deep dive into some subgenres or etc. So can we please next slide? So first of all, uh, what does it even mean? I mean, there's a really confusion about that also. Like some people call it as a new game genre, some people call it a monetization model, etc. But it's my approach as like it's mostly or it's basically a monetization model. Like as you can understand from the name, like an hybrid means a mix of some stuff like an organic mix of a few things or two things in the end. Like it's basically initially 50% in app purchases and 50% ad revenues, like a perfect mix of in app purchase models and ad revenue models in total. Like it's basically like that, but also you can consider it as also a game genre. Like I will also tell about that more in detail. Like it both includes the casual elements and hyper casual elements. So that's also what makes them a hybrid model, hybrid game design or hybrid game approach. And also, when I say is it the future of hyper casual? Some kind of feature, like some kind of transformation of hyper casual, but not at all. Like that doesn't mean there will be no more hyper casual games in near future or in the upcoming days. There will always be like really simple mechanics with only ad revenue oriented monetization models. But also on the other end, when I will deep dive into the models, like it's kind of a feature of the new upcoming genre, like and also it's a model like a dream scenario. Like I mean, taking the low CPI potential of the hyper casual games and merging it kind of with best possible in-game mechanics like casual games trying to do. And also, finally, Arcade Idol is not the only sample here. And also, I can even say nowadays we are not doing like a classical Arcade Idols, like collect some stuff and drop them here, some other place, and upgrade your stuff. It's really a changing environment, and there will always be coming new subgenres, etc. I will also deep dive into these subgenres. So next slide, please. So that's a little bit confusing still, but when I when I ask myself why should I consider like to make new to get deep dive into a new genre or to deep dive into something new, I can say that it's not a must. It's a choice at the end of the day. Like when you come to me and say we are not planning to make hyper casual games or we are not planning to make hybrid casual games, we will do only casual games or we will do mid-core games. It's kind of a choice. Like it depends on your team, it depends on your production capacity or also product experience. Like, but on the other hand, when you should consider something like that, that if you are a experienced studio that is making hyper casual games for your last years or for your last 2 years, etc., it is the best possible genre that you can convert into. And if you wanna convert into, of course, like if you can also still believe like hyper casual is still available, and I believe that there will be no more change on the market, etc. That's also a choice. But on the other hand, you can consider something like that. It's the games has always more lifetime than hyper casual. And when I'm saying more lifetime, that it's all about the scaling operation. Like when you scale a hyper casual game, its lifetime is like mostly 3 or 4 months. But when you are scaling a hybrid casual game, depending on your live ops or depending uh, on your updates or other stuff, it can be much more longer, like a year, even 2 years. That depending on your how you focus on the game, how much do you content do you add to the game, or how much do you work on the creative side too, etc. Also, it has much less production than the casual games. Like if you are designing a casual game, even if you want to test it, I mean, you should implement a game like in a 3 months or 4 months, basically just for a smaller version of, or only for a small test. But on the hybrid casual side, like we are testing a game in a month, and before that, for the hyper casual sites, we were testing a game in 2 weeks. Like it doubles the time, but also it's not as much work as a casual game, just even for the testing phase. On the other hand, there are some other problems on the casual side, like you have to add lots of content, you have to make a really high skilled live ops, etc. That's also one of the reasons it is much less product needs than a casual game. So it's kind of like it's more similar to a hyper casual side on the CPI problems, or on the creative side, because you are still working on a low CPI, or you are still looking for a lowest CPI as possible. But on the other hand, when you find that potential CPI, because of the design of the games, like a casual like design or content oriented design, it's much guaranteed than like a hyper casual game. You know that on the hyper casual side, it's mostly like, even if you find a great CPI, you sometimes find yourself stuck in the in-game metrics. Like you try to increase your in-game metrics, and you try to implement lots of updates to improve your in-game data. But because of the core design is not suitable to deep dive into the mechanics or to vary the mechanics, you sometimes find yourself stuck on that side, and most of the games is being killed because of they couldn't increase their in-game KPIs. But for this hybrid casual side, it's not possible. I mean, when you find that CPI, you always find yourself making small optimizations on the in-game side, but in the end, it's gonna be a good end if you find that CPI. So as I said, it's all about taking good parts of hyper casual. Like those good parts are mostly about the creative sides. I mean, mostly about the CPI, possible CPI sides, and making those good and simple mechanics mixed with casual-like elements or casual-like game flows to find those day 7 retentions, longer lifetimes, longer play times, etc. Currently, it's really an experimental genre because its metrics are, or its basic elements are not available yet. Like lots of the publishers or lots of studios are trying new game type of games. And when I will show you about the subgenres, you will also realize that there is much more possible different kind of games that you can test here. But because it's new and because of its experimental, when you find something new, it has the good potential to make a mega scale. So that's also like an opportunity for you. So also for your team, it's much instructional than a hyper casual game. Like on the hyper casual side, when you find a potential game, you have a really limited time of period to scale the game or to scale the operation. And you sometimes find yourself in a rush, like implementing lots of content in the fastest way possible, like in 1 week, in 2 weeks. And even a high potential operation is being made in 2 months. And at the end of those 2 months, you find yourself like, we just rushed something new, or we just did everything to be as fast as possible, and we didn't learn much at the end. Like you just saved your day, or you just saved your small amount of times, and at the end, when the operation is over, you feel like everything is starting from the beginning, and you didn't learn anything at the end of the day. So this is kind of a step up position for the hypercasual studios. Like if you want to improve your team, if you want to improve your mindset, if you want to vary or widen your vision, this is the genre that you need to consider. Next slide, please. So here is some technical slide, like from the perspective of the marketing. I mean, there are also other reasons why you should consider these changes. like I'm sure most of you knows about the Apple IDFA issues, or also Google Play side is coming up with new problems on this side. Like this happened like a year ago, but the results are coming new. Like the results of those problems are coming new for the publishers. Like there are lots of problems. Like you can't get the user IDs or user behaviors if they don't allow you to do that, and that makes you much more unclear about when you are scaling a game. Like imagine that you have a game of 10 million downloads, but only the averages are like 20% or at most 30% of the users allows the IDFA or allows your to get your data. And imagine that you can only take 3 millions of those 10 millions users data. And for your next game, you have a small amount of data, and those small amount of data will make you make mistakes for your next games. Like this is one of the reasons. Because of that, you have like low ad impression quality, because you are not finding your target audience in a good way, like the before, because of those changes, and also that cost with like higher CPMs, higher CPIs. It's always getting harder to find the lowest CPI as possible day by day, and that makes also the that changes the strategy of the hypercasual side too. Like before that, to find that 10 cent or 20 cent CPI was always possible, and also because you get all the data from the users, you will also be able to easily find your target audience. And when you find the lowest CPI with the highest LTV possible, you will be able to make profitable games easily before those changes. But it's now getting harder every day. So that's also one of the reasons why the genre or why the system ecosystem is changing daily basis. And also, because you lack data, it's always getting higher competition every day. Like you need to find higher KPIs because of the high CPIs. You need to be accurate on LTV prediction, but since you can't collect all the data, you need to make predictions, and you need to predict some stuff, and it needs to be accurate to make a profitable operation. And also you need to add like customizable contents, or you need to find original mechanics, you need to increase your product quality, etc. There are lots of stuff that increase the competition daily basis. And also, since the mobile markets are like always changing daily basis, you need to adapt the new upcoming changes. Like you need to adapt your product team, you need to adapt your marketing approach. And I'm sure this is not the beginning. Like IDF was always being talked and always being known as it's gonna be a problem, but there will be coming new problems, and you need to adapt to those all problems. So next slide, please. So here is a little bit secret, like actually from our company. Like, since we are an old company, I didn't mention, but we, as Udo Games, like we are in the industry like almost 10 years, and we tried lots of different genres before. Like we had hit games from IO genres. We have some casual hits, and we have also some hyper casual hits. So for this hybrid casual side, we also deep dive into the designing phase, and we love to design new genres as a studio too. So we decided to merge the hybrid casual on subgenres. Like, there are a few samples here. Like the first one is our game, Big Adventure. This is the game that we are scaling nowadays, and I can call it as an idle simulation. Like, this is also a good sample to discuss here. Like, this is a digging game, and there is a really ASMR-like simulation behavior here. And since this behavior is like an ASMR-like feeling, we are finding really good CPIs from those simulation mechanics. It's a simple mechanic. It's like a hyper-casual simulation game mechanic. So that's that makes us help to find really good CPIs. But on the other hand, the game is like a classical arcade idle game. I mean, your core mechanics is like simulation, but you collect something here and you convert your collections into something other, and you earn money. By earning money, you upgrade your other stuff, etc., etc., or you unlock new content, new lands around, etc. So that helps us to increase our in-game KPIs a lot, and that's a good mixture of finding the best CPI with a simulation like, or with a hyper casual like mechanic, but converting it into a casual like game flow, and that and us with a really good results. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the game has a lifetime. Like if you wanna consume all the content here, like it has like over a 1 hour content to consume. And our first tests were like we find really good CPIs like 40 cents, but we also had a play time like 20 minutes, and they above 40% day one retention, etc., etc. And the main aim for us here is like increasing the day 7 retention or day 14 retention at the end of the day, and also implementing the in-app purchase site with a huge potential of like increasing it to close to 30% with from the among the all revenue share. Like second sample here is like we are calling it like next gen arcade idol. Z Defense is a really good sample here. Like this is also something new that is being tried by Homa Games, and this is also like it seems like an arcade idol game, but it's also like a tower defense game. I mean, like you know, the tower defense genre is like a really complex genre with casual like elements, with a huge potential of like a huge progress, and that you can see the day 7 retentions or day 30 retentions. But it is also has a really simple mechanic like a hyper casual game. I mean, you walk around, you defense your base, but you just play it game like with your joystick, collecting something, upgrading your other stuff, etc. I mean, the main focus here is like they add the tension to a arcade idol like game, but there will be some other possible ways that you test it like this. I mean, this is also a good sample. On the other hand, like there is the game Dracula City Master, and we call it like a clicker to idle genre. I mean, you know, the classical clicker games that also being tried by lots of publishers nowadays, but the the main problem for the hyper casual clickers are like the content is really repetitive, and it's really hard to increase the in-game KPIs with those kind of mechanics. But on this game, you start the game with like a classic clicker game. I mean, the game starts with like simple click mechanics, or increasing your content or upgrading your content easily, and a simple and easy to adapt mechanic. But after a period, the game becomes like an idle game. I mean, idle games are like also good versions of casual games with lots of content and lots of elements. And suddenly the game becomes from clicker to idle, and this increases the potential of in-game metrics of the genre. But also because it's like a simple clicker game, it has the potential to find good CPIs, like I mentioned also before. And finally, one of the other genres that we are pushing is like 1v1, or you can call it like PvP games, etc. The basic sample here is like basket battle from Supersonic side. I mean, this is also a really simple mechanic to play, and of course, it's not online. Of course, it's you are playing against AI, but the game has a really simple mechanic like a hyper casual game. But also on the other hand, this game is not currently has a really good monetization for my opinion. But we are deep diving in to change the monetization models of this game or this kind of games. Since it's a simple mechanic, it's really easy to adapt. It's really easy to play and easy to compete against AIs or other stuff. But in the end, uh, since it has the potential to be a competitive game, like a mid-core game or like a casual game, you can vary the game flow like a casual game, and you can implement lots of different kind of monetization models here, and that will increase the potential of the game in the in-game KPI sides. So this is also like a good mixture of hyper casual, like a simple mechanic, a potential of mid-core like monetization. So those are like some samples that we are currently talking, but with our in-house team or with our ideation team, we have more than 10 different subgenres we are considering nowadays. And we are trying to vary those subgenres every day, like just by looking casual games or hyper casual games, that we can make a good mixture with this and this. And this is the kind of our approach on the designing phase for the hybrid casual genre. So next slide, please. So, so of course there are risks, and of course there are some warnings I want to make here. Like, as I mentioned before, like when we are testing hyper casual games, we even have sometimes that we were testing a game in 5 business days. Like it was really fast days. It was like really exhausting for the team and for us to even to find lots of new ideas to test is a challenge. But here, our approach here is like 4 weeks of a production test, and at the end of these 4 weeks, it's kind of shows the good KPIs. Like it's enough content to test the game. So it's of course it has longer production than like a hyper casual game. But in the end, since you are also looking for a potential CPI, it has the lower CPI potential than hyper casual, of course, because in hyper casual side of still there are approaches like only finding the best CPI is the first step for the hyper casual games. Still, these approaches like being made for from the lots of the publishers. But as I mentioned before, this is something wrong for us. Like as I said before, there are lots of games that is being killed, even though they had the first metrics like 20 cent or 15 cent on the CPI test. But because the reason is like, even though you find those CPIs, it will increase in the fastest way. Like when you get your first 1 million downloads, it will increase to the $1 immediately. So you will get stuck with the problem that you have to increase your LTV over $1 too. But since the core mechanic is really simple and it's not available it's not suitable to vary the mechanics or vary the gameplay, you will be finding yourself stuck with this problem. And also you have to master the monetization models. Like, I mean, since we changed our approach to the hybrid casual side, when we are making ideations, we are also discussing about the possible monetization model for that idea. And even if we find a mechanic that we believe that it's really fun to play and it's really fun to, it has the really potential, CPI potential, if we can't find a good monetization model for that idea, we are ready to kill that idea. I mean, because it's gonna be the same mistakes like hyper casuals. Like even if we find the good CPI, even if we find the good fun to play mechanic, if we can't implement a good monetization model to this game, it's not gonna be a profitable game at the end of the day. So this is also one of the ways that when you are designing a game, you should also consider about the monetization model, and also you should be masterizing your monetization knowledge by examining other games, casual games or hybrid casual games, and you should have the vision to add the monetization model immediately to the design. So, and then as I said, monetization has to be considered even in the designing phase, like I said before, and unique game elements and mechanics may require higher skill development because like that I showed you before the dig adventure game, there is a digging element that feels really good with a CPI potential. But on the other hand, it was really challenging. Like it was like a combination of a few assets and a few technical tests in there. So most of the games I showed you are like much more complex game than hyper casual games. And that's why you should increase your production team's technical skills. And if you also want to test the games like in a month, it's also still a competitive amount of time to test those kind of games in 4 weeks. So this is why you should invest in your team to increase your production capacity and increase your technical skills. As I said before, there are still a strict production pipeline. I mean, it's still not like casual games like that you can invest in a game for 9 months or for a year even to test the game or even to test some CPIs or test some in some geographical genres, etc. This is still a strict pipeline like a hyper casual because still you have to find these new subgenres and you should test lots of games in these subgenres. And even I showed you 4 subgenres possible that, and we are still discussing with the in-house team like 10 different subgenres. And if we want to test 2 games per subgenres, it's still making 20 games at the end of the day for today. So testing these 20 games like in 4 weeks per game even gets lots of amount of time. So that's why it's still strict. So that's why you should still consider it as a strict pipeline, and you should still be making a fast approach to your production cycle, etc. So next slide, please. And that's all from my side. Like I didn't mention our history or I didn't mention about Udo Games a lot, but because I'm here because of this to tell you about the hybrid casual side. So that's all from my side. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. And thanks for listening.
Hello. Since you have not mentioned about the detail about your company, because of that, have you ever experienced any developing casual games? Have you ever experienced it before?
Yeah.
And
I
what
just mentioned in a shorter way, but yes, we are a almost 9 years old company. We have games on casual sites. We had hits on IO genre and hyper casual genre too. Like we tested like almost every possible genre. We just didn't get into like mid-core games, but among that we tested like every kind of possible genres. And this is also like a kind of approach of a company that tested everything. And at the end of the day, this is the vision that we get with after all those tests and after all those years that we tested, that we worked on lots of different kind of genres. So this is kind of a good way of mixturing those all possible genres into the best possible way.
So what do you think about the switching the hyper casual to the hybrid casual, and maybe after that more deep in elements of the game mechanics or etc. in the hyper casual and hybrid casual, and maybe we can see the switch right now. So from hyper casual to hybrid casual. So what do you think about the old process of the actually weighted KPIs are different right now? I mean, one of the most important ones CPI, but what about the retention and playtime? If we weighted of the second or third KPIs, maybe those are related to quality of the game core mechanics and storyline and structure of the game. What do you think about the switching the KPIs and the genres of the all stuff? I think I mean hyper casual, hybrid casual, and casual, maybe core game. What do you think about it?
I mean, for the last 2 years, our main focus was on hyper casual side, like, and we switched to hyper casual from IO genre, but just the day when we started making hyper casual games, we knew that the sector or the industry will change into something new because hyper casual didn't come up suddenly, and there were some signals that will showing there will be much more simple games with huge CPI potentials. And as I said, we immediately started to try something new. Like the first time I'm remembering was like Lumbercraft game of Voodoo, as far as I remember, and it's been like 1 year and 6 months before. And when we solved the game, it was for us like there's a huge potential here. Like it's kind of like an hyper casual game. There's really a simple mechanic, and we knew that the genre will be coming, and we invested on that immediately. Like on parallel, we were doing lots of hyper casual games, and we were looking for the hyper casual hits. But on the other hand, we were testing different kind of games with our internal team, with a separated team actually. So since we are today discussing about this transferring, like that I'm encouraging you to make this transfer, but also this will also change. Like I mean, consider it as like there will always be people that only plays simple mechanics. Like there will always be people like wanna get into the game that play like 3 minutes and shut down the game and open the game like 5 days later if he or she remembers the game again. Like these people won't be disappearing, but also on the other hand, they are transforming into some uh, better gamers like daily basis. This is one of the reasons also this kind of transformation. So it's all about the changing. It's all about the adapting to the new changes. So there is no truth for like today or for the before. So it will always change, and the main focus is like need to be adapting to those changes. There's no question again. Thanks for listening again. Bye bye.